So,
All right.
we need a motion to go into just
Nope. So,
open it up. Board of Trustees meeting Tuesday, June 25th, 2019 at 5:56 p.m. We're gonna go right into number 5. Board review, May 2019 financials.
Matt, you got it, and Albert, if you want to follow along here.
I just had a couple of notes for this month. The sales were pretty much flat compared to last year. So the revenues were pretty much the same. Down on the expense side, we had a bit of an increase in general plant operations. Part of that is the tree trimming for the Ross Road reconductoring. And then we had a couple of timing issues. So we were below budget this month in accounting and collections, but that's just because we had some postage invoices that we have to pay to send out our bills that we didn't get until this month. So you'll see it catch up. It's not really a savings. And then in administration, we're over by 21,000, but that's also a timing issue because the state requires us to pay the annual regulatory assessment. And sometimes they're not consistent on when they send it
Follow
out.
the item.
So we paid it last year in April, but this year we paid it in May. So you see a little
We
bit,
just started, Beverly.
a little bit of difference. But overall, it's the same. It's about the same amount as last year.
We just started.
Yep. So those were really my notes for May. Nothing real significant.
Cash on here is 47 and 57. And does that have anything to do with timing, why it went up to?
No. So we do have 47 days on hand. We'll see an increase to that when you see the June financials. But other than that, it's pretty much just normal operations for May.
So we went up 2 days. That's not bad.
It's not, it's not too bad. It's a good thing that we have the capital money in place to pay for the Ross Road project, or you'd start to really see the number. I mean, it would dive down, but we lose a little bit of traction.
And the Ross Road is costing us how much as far as the trees?
Well, for the trees, just the trees alone, it's been about 20,000.
Right, that's not good.
But next month I can give you a kind of a comprehensive number of expenses, so far, and then I just keep a tally on, where it is. So.
and the Ross Road did not get into the budget because it came to our attention after we put the budget together, is that right?
Well, Ross Road was part of the budget.
Yeah. So
then is this just a timing issue, this 20,000? Or it's 18,354?
yeah. So it is one of our capital projects, but there are some minor components of it that can't be capitalized, and this tree trimming that's one of those parts. But
Okay.
other things like
So it wasn't in our budget as an expense?
there you go.
Thank you.
Well, technically, so it'll be a wash, because when the Ross Road trimming project comes through, or when we get to that phase, so it's be a deferred savings.
We'll save it
because
later.
We'll save it later.
Okay. But it won't be in this fiscal year?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Matt? Dan, you all set with Matt?
Yeah. Excellent.
Ross Road project update, Todd.
All right, agenda item 6 is the Ross Road project update. Asplund's completed the pre-project trimming. USA is anticipated next week for the advanced prep and pull movement. The supplies have been arriving several weeks until the arrival of the conductor, which is the wire. Updates to come through KLPD and town alerts, timelines to be posted prominently once it has been solidified. So next week we'll meet with USA and try to get a firm project schedule nailed down so that we were initially waiting for the trimming to get done. Now we need to anticipate the wire coming in and not having USA start too soon. So they'll be I'll have an update to you within the next few weeks via email, and in the July agenda we'll discuss what's happened and when we're going, where it's going from there.
And we're estimating about 282,000 for this whole project.
For the contracting, yes. Not to exceed.
That's tree trimming, everything.
What was the amount again?
282.
Nah.
I got 222, but then I heard last meeting was 60,000 extra.
Right, 222 is the contract. So that's the work being done, but the supplies are separate. The contracting won't be any more than 222. Yeah. And we'll have a full detail for the next meeting of where we're at. We'll keep a rolling tally.
Jay, you all set with that?
Yeah, just, there's a project budget, and that's what you're gonna show us, and how we're doing it against it.
Absolutely.
Dan, you all set with that?
Yes.
Item 7.
Item 7 is the first session 2019 legislative update. Todd gave us copies of this. I could read it, or you could take it home and read it for you. Read it yourself, but I will, it's fairly detailed, the most detailed I've ever gotten when I requested one this short notice. So things are still coming. There's still fallout from the legislation and what it will mean to KLPD or CMP customers or anyone like that. And as that develops, we'll keep updates to the board as well. But this is the full, any of the legislation that directly or indirectly relates to Kennebunk Light and Power or consumer-owned utilities. And I will post this on the website as part of this agenda.
You're gonna distribute it to us?
You want a copy, Jay?
I would like one. I'm really excited about the fact that not only has there been some legislation that may enable us to do some new things and save some money and get greener, but also that we have a really good summary of it.
It's legislation, if you're interested.
You guys all set other than that?
Well, I guess just, Todd, if you, in addition to the summary, if you have any highlights that you think offer us particular opportunity or particularly relevant to us, if you wanted to share that with us, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll just read it and...
Yeah, there are a lot of solar bills and a lot of renewable resource generation bills. The biggest thing coming out of all of that legislation is that the consumer-owned retained the ability to be exempt from moving into these larger echelon projects because of the nature of the size of our utility. There may be some generating benefits associated with the hydro facilities as they currently exist through the expiration of the license, but that's to be determined. They defined a consumer-owned utility. The legislature is going to study the potential for a public power delivery service. I don't know what that means, but they will study it. Right here, LD 1844 is a resolve directing the Public Utilities Commission to evaluate the ownership of Maine's main power delivery systems.
That's the one that they're talking about taking CMP
Yes.
back into a public utility.
That is correct.
Okay.
Agricultural affairs did not apply to us. We don't have any in town. Direct sale of electricity does not have any ramifications for KLPD. New Green Deal for Maine creates jobs for renewable resources. Safety of Maine residents and extended power outages. The investor owners have to develop an emergency response plan. This is all coming from the extended outages that they tend to have. Comparative usage data we were exempted from, but we already do provide a bar graph on our customers' bills that shows last year versus this year. Accurate explanations of electric bills, we do that very well. solar energy projects and distributed generation resources in Maine. LD 1711 is what I was referring to earlier about potentially having some harmonies with our hydro facilities. We're looking into that now. And more to come.
Does any of this give us better opportunities to provide affordable, green, renewable energy within our district, or to purchase such power? Or for our customers to generate it as well?
Potentially it does. It increases the cap on generation in district from 1%, where the PUC would need to review it, to 8%, which the PUC reviewed the 1%, said no, that's not enough. Now we're required to, now the PUC will re-review it should it reach the 8% cap of our peak demand day in our district.
So if any utility has got 8% of net metered renewable energy, like rooftop solar, then the PUC will evaluate again whether this is the right pathway.
Yes.
So that opens up some opportunity for our customers.
Certainly. Most certainly. And KLPD as a district has never said no to residential customers that are asking to put solar, and this solidifies that, because we can't say no until 8%, but I don't think we ever would.
And net metering means that our customers who put solar on their rooftops, as an example, would get a credit at the retail rate for that power.
We will, at the retail rate, yes, that is correct. Yep.
Okay. Great.
Any other
Go
questions?
ahead, Dan.
I have no more questions.
Item 8, board authorized GM to issue RFQ for energy procurement, load management, and consulting services.
So we have discussed this need. I will be issuing the RFP this week or next. Not this week, next week. I've been working with Todd on finding things, Todd Brissett, to find things that are out there that, this is just a request for qualifications. So this is going to give a blurb about KLPD, what we do, how we do it, what we want, and how we want to move forward. This will bring the firms that want our business, they'll bring them out of the woodwork, they'll send us and say, yes, we're interested. They'll provide us their information of their firm, what they do, who they have, who their key players are. At timing, I would anticipate that by the July 22nd meeting, I would have a recommendation to the board of which firms we should include in the RFP process. And I also anticipate to have a draft RFP for the entirety of the project to the board by July 22nd. So the reason I do that is I'm not anticipating a meeting in August, which is what we did last year and the year before. And I would like potentially for that RFP to hit the streets in July, but September isn't too late. So that gives us time to, I don't want to rush it to the point on July 22nd. I don't know that we can have it that complete by then.
Is it July 30th?
I'm sorry, July 30th. I had the 22nd in my head for something.
Okay.
So by July 30th, the RFP would be before the trustees, which would explain what we're asking these firms to do, and ask them to provide a response on how they're going to do it and what they're going to charge us. If that RFP could hit the streets in July, then we could definitely award or have a conversation with a firm or two by September, which puts us a year and 15, 16 months ahead of when our contract expires.
Todd, can you give an explanation of issue an RFQ?
RFQ is a request for qualifications, so it's like a help wanted ad. We put it out there in the electrical world that this is what we're looking to do, and firms that do that are interested in working for us would respond to us with their vitals for their firm and how they plan to approach the project. And then if there are synergies, those would be asked to move forward. If there's some that are just throwing it in there and mailing it in, they would not be asked. And then what we felt were the right firms that match KLPD's interests would then get a request for proposals for the full-blown project. So RFQ, I don't know what you would call it in the... They don't really do that in the private sector, so I don't know.
Yeah, we do. I've issued requests for qualifications.
Okay, well then there.
Could I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that the board approve, authorize the general manager to issue the RFQ for energy procurement, load management, and consulting services.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. General manager report can be long, but I'll try to blast through it here for you. And I've got to get a new seat. In conjunction with Todd Brissett of Pretty Flaherty, RFQ will be issued next week for parties interested in bidding on the upcoming road management, procurement, and strategy development and implementation. This will be a 1 or 2 page blurb. I'm on the wrong item. We already did this. Okay. Sorry. And I'm using
New system.
Yeah, I'm using my right finger because I'm using my left hand on the mouse and I'm, okay. Hydro update, 9E. 9A.
Should be Corning.
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 9A, that's Corning discussions.
There we go, 9A. So, 9A, Corning has requested, or is interested in installing a large solar array at their facility. Kennebunk Light and Power, as a consumer-owned utility, has the ability to prohibit anything over 100 kilowatts being generated in the district. But there is also the ability to waive that if the terms are favorable to KLPD. So we're entering into negotiations. Corning has requested I bring this to the board's attention for future discussion. And I believe if there is interest in hearing and talking to Kesslin, I'm talking to Corning, we talk to Kesslin all the time. If there's interest in talking to Corning, which I think there should be, I would ask for a motion of the board to begin negotiations with Corning to find out what it is they would like to do at their facility and how we can possibly work together.
Need a motion on that?
Yes, please.
We have a motion on the table.
Second.
So moved.
Dan, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
I think it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Could be a real opportunity for us.
It definitely could. We're gonna
And for them.
If we think it through.
Exactly.
Think
Absolutely.
about all the consequences.
Could be.
Right.
Correct.
We have to really be very careful about this.
9B is e-billing and online credit card payments update. E-bill subscribers 1,153, credit card receipt month to date 22,955, and credit card receipts year to date $270,104. So we're saving some serious. We would be paying some serious fees if we had not. We take some flack here in the district, but this is what we point to. Similar with the town. This is why we do it. There's a lot of people using credit cards. More than I thought.
Is this helping on delinquent accounts?
Not yet. we're doing different tracking mechanisms to try to determine what's going on with the delinquent accounts, but this hasn't had the correlation I thought. Matt, would you agree thus far that the correlation hasn't been there?
Yeah, I agree. What it has done, though, is shown people that we do have an automatic draft program. So we are seeing less, paper checks and more electronic payments, but not a significant. I think we need more people to take advantage of it to really affect the past dues.
And we're refining the forms that people use when they sign up to offer immediately in that form the ability to do auto draft, because some people say they didn't realize it, so that's built right into the form now. Should you desire to, they fill the rest of the form out, and they when they sign up, they become auto draft customers, which is the ideal way that we would like to see it. But the delinquent folks, I have noticed delinquents, people who are being disconnected that are using credit cards, so that's kind of having an impact there. Gives them an option. We're getting those funds quicker. We're not leaving them off as long, if actually we even have to turn them off, because once they say to the guys, I have a credit card, then they either come down here or they log on and they pay with the credit card. We get an instant receipt that says that the transaction has occurred, and then we leave them on. So if that has helped.
What was the number of total credit card payments to date?
$270,104.
And what are the charges that
They're paying their whole bill.
But
Usually.
that's the bill. Are they paying in addition the fees?
Yes.
And what are the fees per?
It is 35 cents per transaction and 4% or 3?
No, it's less.
And 3%.
So people are choosing to pay something like $7,000 or $8,000 so far in fees.
Correct.
And when they have the option to direct withdraw for free.
Yeah, and some of those customers are very aware of that and want they want reward points on their cards.
Right.
Travel miles, things like that.
So I think it's kind of interesting because I think we think of our customers as being very cost sensitive. And I mean, we manage this business to try and keep our costs as low as possible. And well, some of them prefer the convenience of credit cards to a low cost of electricity. I think it's just interesting to observe that. And it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out after a year or two. You know, how many people are automatically paying, how many want to and are willing to pay the fees, and what that means for the sensitivity of our customers.
These fees are using a credit card?
Yes.
Regular, not a debit card, but a credit card.
A debit card if you use it online, not through our website. So if you go to the USTI e-bill pay site, if you use a credit or a debit card, you get the fee. But we've given an option to go directly to our website because a debit card is attached to a bank account. So if you take that debit card's bank account number with the routing number and the account number, we will allow you to do that online with no fee. So you can do it from our website, but people still...
So that's the routing and the account number.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little work, but...
It's a little work, but it's...
Two numbers. $350.
So after a year, we may be able
Every bill?
to determine what percent, I don't know if we can do this, and Matt's gonna kick me for saying it, but we could possibly determine what percentage of credit card payments were made as a result of a disconnect, you know, things like that, that we may get more refined.
You know, when I get the automatic withdrawal, I like that. Works pretty good. The only bad thing is you have to send me a bill.
But we don't have to if you sign up online. So you can sign up for the online bill and you don't pay the fees. There's no fees. You can just get an email of your bill and then we'll still draft it.
You do it automatically.
Yeah.
I signed up a long time ago.
Yeah, so we automatically do that now. You can still get an electronic bill and get rid of your paper bill. And I can show you how to do that if you want your bill in the email.
Why are we supposed to?
Exactly. That's in paper. And then
See?
yeah, minutes, filing, and research. So Ms. Robinson sent an email to us, which she was rightful to send, and I hope her response, the response I gave her was professional and learned as I have available to me. We do meet the requirements. I think I allayed all of her concerns. So you've seen that this evening the agenda has been projected on the board, and agenda items highlighted, pertinent information being posted. Next month's goal is to marry this with a video camera to allow viewers to follow the bouncing ball. What's going to happen is we're going to we have an HDMI in on that, and we have, HDMI mini in on the camera, HDMI on this. So that camera will be linked to this video screen, and as we change the agenda items, Blake will have the opportunity to either put the discussion or the agenda item on the screen. So each time, I'm going to go back, each time, I went forward. Wait, stop. So you see I've been highlighting the agenda items. I will do that in a PowerPoint every month and send it to Blake for the items that are public information. And then each time the agenda changes items, he will change the agenda item with the highlight on the screen so people know what we're talking about. If it's a document that we're discussing, the document will be put on the screen. If there's no document, the board will be shown. This will make it easier to bookmark those times initially so that we know when that happened. He will start also using, so that's moving forward. The agenda will be sent to you in a PDF and as a PowerPoint, so you can view the PowerPoint. PowerPoint will be sent to Blake. It'll be married with the video. Moving forward, he's working on, right now, YouTube allows you to do chapters. So this will help him change the chapter. Each time an agenda comes up, he'll change the chapter. That chapter will be the next agenda item, and that will be more delineated as people are watching the video. They can jump to a chapter if they want to. He is also going to, we have the internet availability of the YouTube video, however reliable that is. We have a hard drive, 1 terabyte hard drive where the electronic record is stored of the video. We stored the video on our server here in-house. I save a copy of it to the server, so we've got 3 layers of the video there. We're also, for the meetings that had happened prior to this date and moving forward, they're going to be preserved on DVD with the chapters inventoried, and we will keep a DVD player in the vault for posterity so that if DVDs suddenly disappear, there is a player in that vault that works, that will play. It'll be in an unopened box.
And the key thing is you'll be able to,
Good idea.
you'll be able to find something, something
Yeah.
comes up, you'll be able to scroll right through it and go
Yep.
to section 7.
Correct.
Exactly,
agenda
and that's
item.
what, when he does the DVDs, that's how it's gonna be. Agenda items are gonna be chapters, you'll flip through, we wanted to hear what you were talking about here. We'll have that available, we can send a link, say, go to chapter 7, and they can see the item they're talking
Yeah.
about.
And Blake will do this.
He's,
That one?
he's working, yeah, he's gonna do it indefinitely moving forward, and he's going to give me a price. He's ballpark of about $100 a month to record the meeting, archive everything, and take care of all the work. So he'll have a price to us, and I'll know what that is next month. And then everything will be on DVD moving forward. We have a hard record. The board no longer approves the minutes, but Dan will approve the statutorily required minutes, which are what was, who was there, what was acted on, and what the result, what the action was. So if it was 3 yeas, 2 nays, it'll say 3 yeas, 2 nays, it'll say who it was, it'll say passed, it'll say, it's the basic format of what minutes need to be, and that will be the only paper copy we'll have.
Dan, I'd like to just say I think that was a really good idea to push forward with this. And it's a much
It'd be a nightmare to try to find something.
Yeah,
Exactly.
good, good.
And now you're really storing it.
Yeah,
Nicely.
that, exactly. So we'll have it, and it'll be there, and we'll be able to jump to conclusions. We can get to the end of an item. Belmont Electric Light District strategery, I put that there on purpose, and food for thought. So I provided you documents that I'm not asking you to accept wholesale, that I'm not asking you to necessarily agree with if you don't agree with it. But I'm going to, there's a lot of pages here. I'll just flip through. This is all the pages of the Belmont. Oh, here we go. So, Belmont Municipal Light District, the energy resources policy, the power supply policy, and the emission-free renewable energy policy are used with permission from Chris Roy of Belmont Light. He's the general manager, and he was formerly the general manager of Concord Light. These documents are given to the board as food for thought as KLPD moves to the development of a request for proposals for energy procurement, load management, and consulting services. Not asking the board for a wholesale agreement on the documents presented. I asked the board members review the documents prior to the July meeting for discussions pertaining to the RFP development.
Great.
And so Todd Grissett is aware of these as well, and he doesn't know what flavor our board is going to have, but we're going to develop the RFP to be brought to the board so that it's changeable into something that the board agrees with before it hits the street.
Great.
These are very in-depth, very thorough, in my opinion. Belmont did some real work on their procurement strategy and their municipal building, electrification and renewable uses. There's a lot there, and it's a good start-off point for you gentlemen to read things that jump out to you that sound really like they belong with KLPD, highlight them. Things that jump out at you and you think don't belong in KLP, highlight them. And if there's things you don't see there, just be prepared for the July meeting to have that conversation.
Can I throw out one thing?
Yeah.
I did read them, and I don't propose to discuss them now, but I did think that they focused a good bit on demand management,
Yes, they do.
which is interesting. And apparently they have a report on what they did for demand management, and this stuff you gave us is pretty sparse on giving us a sense of what it actually means.
I will get-
And if you can add that to the list for us for the next meeting, it would be great. to
I
read that.
emailed Chris this afternoon and
Great.
asked him for that. So
Great.
as soon as it comes, I'll email and throw it in the Dropbox.
And I thought this was a really good place for us to start.
I wish I had found it a year ago.
Yeah, they did a lot of work.
Yeah,
And
they've
we
done
can
a lot of work
piggyback off of
last
some
year.
of it, I'm sure.
Exactly. Oops, I'm going back to this.
right.
So, well, next one.
Yeah, hydro facilities.
Hydro facilities, so this is, oh, I didn't Okay, so Kesselin is not running again. We spent $10,000 to fix the windings. We generated 48,000 kilowatt hours. If you figure 10 cents a kilowatt hour, which is high, we lost half our money. 100, we didn't lose it. It was an experiment that failed. 180 degrees from where the original fail was, there was another failure. And I, at this point, am not recommending to the board to spend the additional $10,000 to do that again. I have a call into the gentleman at Industrial to see if he has any thoughts on what, if there's something that might be missing, but he did indicate when they did the work that there's no guarantee that this is gonna last. It could last you a day, it could last you 10 years. It lasted us about 2 months. So if any information comes further from Industrial, any other recommendations, I will bring that to the board, but for this time, until there's any assurances, it will remain offline until suggestions can be made on how to fix it and have an expectation of a return on that investment. That is Kesselin. Twine Mill, we had divers come in last Monday. There were no obstructions in the butterfly valve intake, in the penstock. Everything is clean behind the trash racks moving into the unit. There's no obstructions. There's no reason why that butterfly valve shouldn't be opening. Tomorrow morning, Wayne and I and potentially a few other crew members are going down to inspect the downstream side of that butterfly valve to make sure there are no obstructions or anything that are stopping it from moving. Once both of those have been determined to be free and clear, we will once again begin going through the startup procedures to see where the issues are coming from exactly, because everyone indicated prior that there was something jammed there. Nothing's jammed. We have to monitor the unit as we're trying to bring it up to speed to pinpoint exactly what's going on. There is a more reasonable hope now than there was when we thought something was jammed that we can get this thing to run. It just will take more trial and error because we've eliminated the first issue that we thought might be the issue. So that's Twine Mill, and then Dane Perkins is running, the boards are fixed, and it runs until it runs out of water, then we let it recharge and run it again. And I did forget, the Kesselin boards will still be replaced, even though it's not going to be generating, just because it's been long overdue and they need to be there. So in the next week or so, it was supposed to happen last week or the week before, and workload has been crazy for the guys, and then we discovered that it wouldn't run again, but the boards will still be replaced in the next few weeks. And that is the hydro update.
Have you considered WD-40?
We've tried it, yeah. I've got something called krill oil, or I don't know, it's better than WD-40 and it's still in it.
All right.
Asplund.
Asplund, I don't know, I'm still learning this as well. Oh, Crossroad complete. They're back to West Kennebunk and then off to Lyman. This year Asplund is going to trim all of the secondary takeoffs and all of the house services in one run. They're doing everything at once. Last year they went out, they cut our primaries and then went back and did side road secondaries and house services. This year we had a conversation with everyone with Asplund and said it's a lot easier this way for us and for you, and moving forward the next 5 years from now, we need to keep it in order. So they're going back, they'll start at the West Kennebunk substation, they'll do all the secondaries and all the services, and they'll get to the end of Cole Road where they had originally made it before they jumped to Ross Road, and then they'll start they'll do the primaries, the secondaries, and the takeoffs to houses all at once, and they'll be out in Lyman for pretty much the remainder of the summer. There's a lot of cutting to do out there.
Yep.
And so that is going well.
Good.
We're making a lot more progress there.
Mill Street planning phase update.
We're inventorying the Mill Street project and anticipating presenting this project to the board for the 2020 budget. Much more to come once final timelines. So we're inventorying what we need for equipment, what the best type of wire is going to be, what the most economical development and reconductoring of that system is going to be, and we will definitely have numbers before September, October, but planning to integrate that into the 2020 budget.
Anybody got anything on that? Substation planning phase update.
We have, we've been speaking to Central Maine Power thus far. So Central Maine Power owns the resources that come into that substation. We own the resources that go out of that substation. And Central Maine Power has a lot of substations that are circa ours, the 50s, that they're rebuilding. They're keeping the steel structure, they're ensuring the integrity of the ground grid, and then they're replacing all insulators and any mechanical moving parts that could fail in the substation. At the same time, from what we're finding, this could be, if we plan it well enough, it could be like a 5-hour outage in the middle of the night, one night in whatever, September, where that 6-hour outage, we will change all our insulators, Central Maine Power will change all their insulators, and we would be able to lift our transformers and our voltage regulators off the ground to give us clearances that are required to be safely working in that facility. It's looking like this will be a complete alternative to a rebuild, because these redesigns that Central Maine Power is doing, they have a useful life expectancy of the steel. So long as the steel doesn't fail, these will continue to run safely and effectively into the future. So this is something we're looking at. We're fleshing everything out to determine if it would have a similar life expectancy to a completely rebuilt substation, but all indications are that it would, and at a very small fraction of the cost. So that's, I asked a question one day and Kevin said, wow, well, I'll find out, and found out that CMP is doing this exact thing. So I think this will be the direction we're going in, and once we've had more, so Central Maine Power is going back to see what they need to do, and they are also going to tell us what once they know what they need to do, they'll come meet with us and say, because we have a very good working relationship with the CMP substation people. They help us a lot, we help them when we can. They're going to help us with an inventory of what needs to be replaced prior to even shutting anything down. So if we would have everything ready and ordered and sitting on the ground waiting, because what we did find out is the clearances haven't changed, the standardized form of the steel structure. So 24 inches is bolt hole to bolt hole. It has been and it still is. They haven't changed that. So everything can be retrofitted to that steel without having to disassemble and construct a new substation. So we're in the formative phases of that process, but I anticipate that as well will be a consideration for the 2020 budget, because I think that's a very economical option as opposed to building another $2 million substation. So I'll keep you updated to that on the agenda as more comes.
2 questions.
Shoot.
How much do you, at this point, estimate, if this works, that we actually might save versus what we thought we might have to spend? I realize these are swags, they weren't all priced out, but...
Our conservative estimate was $1.5 million on a new substation.
Yeah.
This could save us, from what I'm hearing, more than $1.25 million on a new substation.
That would give us a lot of flexibility.
It's because we don't need to change the transformers right now. Those transformers are fine. It's just the clearances, and the insulators are a drop in the hat as compared to, a transformer hooked to 34.5 is about 300 grand. We have those transformers and we wouldn't need to replace them. So this could save us considerably and allow us to move forward and do even more projects and into making us the district we want to be.
So thanks for asking that question and getting a good answer.
Well, I'm glad the answer was, I thought I was crazy. And he was like, oh, no, I think let me check.
So my other question is, what is the reason for the new height requirement? And is this related to increased flooding potential or is this some new standard, or what is it?
Yeah, it's not directly rated. It's working clearances from certain voltages. So as you move away physically, if you were to move a transformer and its leads 3 feet off the ground, there's an exponential decrease in incident energy. So 3 feet reduces the amount of clothing and the risk to the worker. So it's having
safety.
It is completely safety related. Those transformers are mounted on the ground, and it's too simple
to short it.
Yeah, line people and substation people, or at least the old timers, whenever they went into the substation, their hands were in their pockets. Because if you took your hand, you pointed at something, swat a fly, something like that, and you hit the wrong thing, you could be dead. And that's what they changed. You don't want to be able to hit the lead to a generator by raising your hand And we don't have the clearances we need in that substation, which is the major concern. And then once we realized we could address that major concern with, short of a rebuild, that's where we started heading down this path. So it is clearance, that's what it's all about. I shouldn't be able to touch anything that will kill me when I'm in there.
Okay, and I have some more questions, but we don't have to talk about it now. My curiosity is when we do come back to this, is how are we addressing the increased flooding potential? Because we previously were talking about a whole new substation, and we know now that flooding is going to be even a bigger issue as the sewer district has seen. And we had also talked about redundancy and some other issues about trying to build more long-term stability into our microgrid, if you will. So I'm not asking that
I
question
give you
now.
a 50-cent answer to it.
Okay.
If you remind me with the first part. Oh, the flooding.
Flooding
So to the
and
extent,
redundancy and security.
so the footprint of the substation itself, the steel structure isn't, there's nothing there to be inundated by floodwater. So we're not removing it from the floodplain, but we're leaving the metal structure that is impervious to water and not considered an obstruction. We would be leaving that. But if the ability were there to raise if we could raise those transformers to at least the BFE, base flood elevation at that location, or 2 feet above like the standard is, that would not only give us more clearance, it would clear us out of the floodplain.
Okay,
So that's
so you're still
a
thinking about
consideration
that?
that we taken, yes.
Yeah.
And then the redundancy is something that we'll be working on as we're doing these shifting to as we do these projects to shift load to West Kennebunk. I said that the transformers that we have are in good shape, but it doesn't mean they'll last forever. So part of that could be to replace the 2 transformers there to potentially phase properly to be able to tie our system together.
I see.
So that may be a potential ability to create that redundancy.
Thanks.
Letter I.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. The board, yeah, the employees were very happy with the employee appreciation luncheon. Unfortunately, none of the trustees could attend, and that was telling because it was an employee appreciation luncheon, and I said the people I work for aren't here to appreciate me, so I guess you guys are out, go eat your lunch. I thought that was pretty good, but the morale around here has been, in my opinion, has been pretty good. The crew has been out getting projects done. They feel empowered because the efforts that we're making are actually working. The critter guards, the cutting.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, the outages, I'll give you an example and then I'll try to wrap it up, but Saturday, this is going to be an anecdotal story. So Saturday, I'm in Ace Hardware. Saturday or Sunday? Saturday. I was in Ace Hardware, and I'm looking for, I don't know what I was looking for, and I hear a guy in the other aisle saying that a tree came down, ripped the service off his house, blah, blah, blah. So I walked over, and Lee was helping him, and I said, where do you live? And he said, I live right near you.
Brown Street.
Day Street, and there's a side road off that, Perkin or Parsons Way or something. So a big tree took his service. Parker Way. So I'm like, okay, did you call? He said, yeah, we called. It's an electrician issue. As I'm talking to this side, Justin calls me. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, we got that tree down, and he said, we've got a failed underground in Longwood. So we had, and out in Whitten Hill Road, out by you. So we probably had a sum total of 200 meters without power. We got maybe 40 phone calls. Something like that, the phone would ring off the hook. Wow. But what happens now is Kevin will get in touch with me. He couldn't get in touch with me because he had the wrong number, but he called Kathy. Kathy does the website updates anyway. So she came in, updated the website. When I got here after hearing the story, like 15 minutes later, I said, I'm here to answer phones, and I sent you guys the email, and I said, do we have an outage? She's like, yeah, why? I said, the phones aren't ringing. And it's made a huge difference. That website, we're working on refining to get it more responsive, to be quicker to the punch, and that will come with metering in the future, which will be part of a conversation in the budget this coming year as well, for capital budget, the extended capital budget. But it's just the website is working. The call volume on an outage like that, Kathy and I would have been answering 2 lines and the emergency line on an outage on a weekend. It would have been the 2 of us, and nonstop phone ring. And with the e-subscribers that we've been getting to the website and the alerts. So Kevin explained exactly what happened. He said Kennebunk is gonna get spotty power, this, that, and the other. I sent that out there, and it is amazing. So the more refined we can make that, the more convenient it is to our customers, the easier it is for crew to do their job without having to answer questions all day long, and we won't have to have people coming in to answer phones, or as many people.
Did you have any issues with surges?
We did, yeah. There wasn't, well, with blinking power, what happened was the tree, the underground.
A couple of days before that.
Yes, the underground that failed at Longwood, it failed in such a way that there is redundancy in that substation, but it failed from the end it was coming from. So they couldn't find it. They had to test all the transformers before they realized that it was the way the feed was. So they kept trying to re-energize it. And that's why the power would blink, because my power blinked a couple times on Saturday, and that's exactly what it was. Because, and part of this redesign is going to help us, if this had happened when the Mill Street project was completed, nothing would have happened to Route 1. And by every time they had to try to re-energize that circuit out on Whitten Hill Road, this would blink when it failed again before the recloser could tell it, you're okay to hear, it's got to be out beyond here. So this is part of why the Ross Road project's happening, and why the Mill Street project is being proposed, is these long runs where people can't understand why I'm not even anywhere near Whitten Hill Road, I'm on Main Street. Why am I losing power? We have to explain that it's the circuit and the way it's being handled. But thank you to the board is where this started for the employee appreciation lunch. But that outage was a telling example of the work we've been doing here. You know, when we do have an outage, knock on wood, the volume of calls, the communication coming from here is better. We're being more proactive rather than having to answer calls all day long.
I think these guys work real well.
Oh yeah.
There's no question about it.
No, there's none.
Oh, you probably weren't talking about me.
Actually, you guys.
I'm just
part of the
kidding.
team?
Yes, they do. They're guys and girls.
I'm going there.
Anything else here? Dan, you all set?
Yes.
Does anybody have anything from the public that they'd like to comment on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was in East Hartford on Saturday. I heard the story, and the guy is saying something about he needs an emergency generator. Now, I don't know anything about that, but you're talking about communication. How long did it take for you to get the service back?
His service, we had restored to his point, but he had to wait. What happens is our connection, we own to the meter.
Yeah.
We own to the drip loop.
It pulled his
It pulled
down.
his service off, and it actually, when it ripped the meter off, ripped it out of the panel.
Yeah.
And so we would have had his power restored, but we can't go inside the house, so he had to have an electrician come in and reconnect his panel,
Right.
and then he got back up and running.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, a comment on the hydro. This is talking about Twine Mill. We've known that if anybody wants to play with the butterfly valve, the physical thing is a 6-foot diameter, huge thing.
Yeah.
That we can't do it unless we close the head gate. Is that correct?
That is not, if you,
We can't
If you wanna-
physically do
you
anything
can't-
with the butterfly valve, the physical
yeah,
valve itself, unless we close the head gate.
that's not the case.
Well, I mean, if you move the...
Like, oh, you can't remove the butterfly valve without.
Well, you can't open it in any way unless you're trying to restart the generator.
That is what the plans say, and that is what we're trying to determine if there's a way to trick it open.
Okay, okay. Peter is still working on clarifying the relay systems and all that.
Yeah.
Have you gotten an estimate from a welder to at least know what the implication is of trying to put in some kind of a pressure relief?
Not yet. Not for a head
Why?
gate that would be closed.
Why not get an estimate so that we are aware of the implication if you do have to close the head gate?
Because if we do have to close the head gate,
Yes.
it will be, for this time, it will be a last resort, and we can get it open. We have access to a crane that can open it. So if we have an emergency where we need to shut it, we will shut it to stop the water, but the crane will break any seal that has. And so, as opposed to, we could do that, it's just not something that in the course of the normal operation of the hydro we would use. So it's a lot less expensive to have the crane there to open it than it is to...
Because you'll need the crane just to put that thing in anyway.
Exactly. So that's why we haven't gone that route yet, but I have talked to Nate Mailing, and he has a pretty good idea of how to design or how to do what it is that you're speaking, and it didn't sound like it was prohibitively expensive, but I haven't had him cost the materials yet because of the fact that we don't know what step we're at.
Okay.
But, so it's not a complete off the table, but when I spoke to the crane owner, he said that thing will lift anything. So there's no way that a 6-foot diameter intake with the pressure behind it is gonna stop that from opening it. He said it won't break, it's gonna, eventually something will just give and it'll move.
Yeah.
So that's how we're going until the next step. And if we realize that there's a big problem, we may have to shut it indefinitely to disassemble it, and it won't be open in a while, so that crane will open it.
Have you got anything?
The only question that I had was, we were talking about this wonderful cooperation with CMP, and that you might have to be down for 5 hours. How do you handle that with people who have to have electricity?
We do it. We have a list of, they're called Lifeline customers. We have a list of those customers, and we have to notify them ahead of time. So if we know we're gonna have a 5-hour outage, 99% of those customers have backup that will last 12 hours. There's battery backup for the oxygen generators and for CPAP machines and things like that. So we would know well enough ahead of time that we would announce it. We've done it before. 3 years ago, we had to have an outage to fix some things at the substation, and we call those lists physically. And if those people don't have that ability, we have them contact their doctor, or we would go so far as to say, here's what's going on.
This is where the Post, doing it early enough,
Yep.
get it out in,
Oh yeah, well, it'll
make
be,
it a news item
That's absolutely-
early enough,
Yep.
so it would appears more than 1 week in that paper, telling people this is gonna happen. If you're not on our special list,
Yep. Yep.
get on that list.
We notify, the last time we did it, we notified in the Post, and the problem with notifying in the newspapers is that you set out a timeline, and if those are usually weather, so we have to have weather permitting language as well as backup dates, but we do.
And then post it on your website,
Oh, yeah.
way up high, it's
It'll be-
high up in the,
That would be one of the.
so they don't
there'd
have
be
to
a-
scroll down.
No, there'd be a
looking for
special
something.
call-out section that says outage coming. Like, if you look at our website, the first thing it says is there are no outages in the district at this time. That's where we update everything if there is an outage, so we would do that. We would send emails. It would be prominently on our website in the building. The last time we had an extended outage, we went, and we do this anyway, we go to the large businesses that are going to be impacted. Like I said, we call out those Lifeline people, it's not called Lifeline. We call out those people who are on lifelines that need power, and we address those issues. We're not to the point yet where we have a rolling generator where we could go in, but we do everything we can to make sure that those people are covered.
So following up on Bev's suggestion, when you do those announcements, it would be good to also remind people that they should contact the office because the schedule is not fixed.
Yep.
And get on the list.
Absolutely.
Yes,
So
you
you've
get on
done-
that list.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely, yeah.
See, and if they're not on that list, it makes them think about it, or a family person who's getting ready to
Yeah.
need something like that,
Yep.
then they're proactive.
Absolutely. We could-
And I think, the other thing is, I think, force the Post to accept some material things from you of positive things.
Yeah,
If
working.
there is a lot of outages and CMP is not getting back to their people, tell them how few, educate the people about how fast KLPD is reacting. Let them
Yep.
keep loving
I will
KLPD.
be more than happy to do that, Beverly.
Yeah, I really do, and I think they'd run a story on it.
Put out a positive press release.
Is there a possibility of for people who try to avoid computers or any kind of
Technology.
technology because they've been using it so long they want to get away from it. Is there a chance of putting a bulletin on a bill, with the bill, on the bill? Because that's the only thing I really
Well, we could do it
read.
on the bill, that's not a problem. If
You
we
know what I
have to
mean?
be a month ahead of
There's-
time to hit
yeah.
all the billing schedules.
But there will be an outing, an oval, like you're donating to Trump or something.
we can do that.
Popular guy.
You
No,
use,
'cause-
and you do use color in yours with the blue and the red?
Yeah.
If that could be in red or something that people would pay attention to.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, if you could put it in the bill, because last time my mother was standing in the dark for 10 minutes in the hallway, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And then I talked to you about that rechargeable and all that. So I think communication,
Yeah.
any and all. Can I just ask a couple items? The door was locked when I first got here. I got here early, and then when I came in, you guys were already at item 5, I think. Item 4, what tentative motion on items discussed? Did anything happen or not?
There was no motion.
Okay.
No,
Can I ask, where are we? It's been, what, about 8 months since the whole proposal, the interim proposal from AFH came
yeah.
forward. Are we gonna have, once you've gone through all the legal stuff, some public discussion before some vote is taken, and will the full board make the vote on it?
if there is a vote to be taken, the full board will take the vote, and there would be public discussion ahead of time, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, and then just one other thing, Dan, you mentioned the risks about Corning discussion. Can you just, anyone just kind of fill in what's the opportunity, what's the risk?
The opportunity is to make Kennebunk a greener community. The opportunity is to potentially allow Corning to generate more power than they are able to per state statute. That's a decision the board gets to make. The downfall could be
Cheaper power.
right, cheaper power. If the downfall would be we would lose a considerable amount of delivery revenue. If we were to if they were allowed to do this without any PUC involvement. So we're a small district. COUs get some exemptions in these rulemakings, and the latest rulemaking retains the 100 kilowatt exemption. So KLPD as a district does not have to allow somebody to install a solar array that's greater than 100 kilowatts. Corning wants to build a much bigger one, and so we can say no.
To be in the business of making some money off of it for
Well,
themselves, or just?
Well, on the face of it, Corning Incorporated as an entity is making great strides in greening their power supply. They're a very large energy user, so they've done a lot. Their Corning plant in New York, I have been told, I haven't confirmed, is completely green. It either is running on solar, wind, or hydro, or it is running off batteries that are where the power is generated from those type of resources. So for them, it's a win-win if they can come in and we can build a relationship to make that happen. Try to help them to reach their goals while also protecting our bottom line.
Can I ask the question, does Matt know what percentage of our delivery income is from Corning?
5, 2.
Well, our total delivery is, round numbers, it's 2 million. 2 million a year, and that's how we run the place.
$2 million.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. So what would they be? Say,
The delivery is what?
I would say 35,000 a month.
Yeah.
So 35 times 12 divided by 2 million. Super broad numbers.
It's big. It's
And that's why those protections are in place, because small utilities can't bear the brunt of somebody saying we're not taking your power.
Yeah, but it's important to note too that when they chose a different supplier for their energy, that in a dollars and immediate dollars and cents way, that didn't impact us.
But it did on the volume purchase power.
Well, it didn't affect our current PPA, but
Yes.
It didn't affect the purchase power rate because there was a separate clause in the transaction agreement that the industrial load was carved out. Corning was the only industrial load. So our customers, our residential customers, and the balance of our customers' rates didn't go up because of that carve out. So it literally did not have an impact on our rates, because our rates moving forward are going to be considered in the absence of Corning, is the assumption.
But it will lower your opportunities for buying in bulk.
It could potentially. We have such an odd load profile that it's yet to be determined what that full impact would be. But we'll find out as we move forward. Energy markets are an interesting thing.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay,
What is the, where are you as far as your purchasing of power for the years 2020 and beyond? Wasn't there talk of a contract coming up or something? We just wondered where.
So agenda item 8 will be issuing the request for
that's
qualifications next week, which will have the firm say, we're interested.
Okay.
And then it anticipated the request for proposals, so the full-blown, this is what we want you to do, how much you're gonna charge us to do it. That's anticipated to be issued in July at the earliest, likely September.
Okay, because I put forth a question months ago saying that I was concerned that 95% or so of our power comes from Nextdoor, just one supplier. And you went and answered it and said, well, they use this percent natural gas and this percent hydro, blah, blah, blah. But it still comes back to the same thing of, what if there was some kind of national crisis and, gee, we only have so much power, guess what? Boston gets it first, and Kennebunk, you're out of luck. And so my question is, would you ever have two potential suppliers, or are we so small that you can't do something like that?
No, we're looking at a supplier mix, actually.
Yeah,
as
that's
we
what I'm
move forward.
asking.
So the consultant will work
Diversification.
for us. The
Right.
consultant will procure, they know we need this much energy, they will meet our standards, procure it the way we tell them to make sure we have the power we want in the proportions we want, so that we are insulated from those kind of single source problems.
Okay.
And for that matter, that's another potential benefit to us of a deal with Corning. If we can do something that's really beneficial for them, protects our bottom line, and also expands our locally generated and owned supply of electricity, that would be good.
You mean
Could be
if
good.
we invest the money from the service station to buy panels, then we're actually generating instead of buying the electricity from the
Exactly.
developer.
Exactly. And that is something I learned through this first PPA, that if KLPD were to build another solar array, it might be in our best interest to bond the price, because you spread that over a per kilowatt hour a year.
Right.
So that's something that's being considered if we move forward.
And actually become a provider of electricity instead of a purchaser.
Correct.
Good.
Next meetings.
The next meeting, I still have June on there, but July, I keep saying the 22nd, July 30th is the next meeting. And at this time, there's no meeting scheduled for August unless it were an absolute emergency.
Board recommendations for upcoming meeting agenda items.
I did fail to mention one thing, under the general manager's report. I did want to follow in the footsteps of the town of Rundle and close on Friday, July 5th. It seems like a lot of municipalities are, the 4th is a holiday. I would like to offer the employees to close on the 5th. Typically the board weighs in on that, so I will allow you to weigh in on that.
There's on-call people anywhere.
Oh yeah, just the offices. I don't know how many payments will get coming through the doors on Friday the 5th.
Oh, so you want to get 3-day weekends?
Yeah.
Does that need to be voted on?
It has in the past. I don't think it does. I think I'm giving the administrative okay to do that, so I'll pass on there being a motion, and if there's any cards that fall from it, I'll deal with it. No problem.
Dan? So be it.
All right.
Want to keep the place happy?
Oh yeah? They work better when they're happy.
We all do.
Yeah, and we're fed.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Have a great evening, gentlemen.